And not surprisingly, but surprisingly, Stephen King in his book said the exact same thing that Dr. Gerald Early said, which was to be a writer, you have to read a lot and you have to write a lot. So those right there, that's the secret to getting started. And you don't need anybody's permission and you don't need anybody else's approval. You only have to start and you have to keep going and going. So if you didn't major in English or one of the humanities and you get the idea or the inkling that you want to be a writer, how do you start that journey? I'm going to talk about that in this video. Hey everyone, I have a request from this side of the camera. Please like this video and also consider subscribing to this channel. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Big Words Authors76. In the introductory video for this channel, I simply called it Big Words Authors, but it's Big Words Authors 76. Big Words Authors is actually a blog that you can log on to and read some of my readings online. And there's an online store for my book project, The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story, Part 1, Innocent Basketball Dreams. Speaking of which, that is available on Amazon in the ebook and the hardcover and the paperback editions. And very soon it may be available on another platform. And I am planning to sell signed copies of it on the Big Words Authors Writers blog. So look out for that and contact me if you are interested in a signed copy. But I didn't introduce myself. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and I am the content creator on this channel. And I am now a published author, and I am also a blogger and a writer. And I think the first video after the introductory video on this channel is going to involve it's going to involve how do you start writing if you're not an English major, if you weren't an English major, and if you didn't major in one of the humanities. Let's talk about that and how you can start if it's something you want to do. Now, in the introductory video, I did describe some aspects of my start. My father did tell me at an early age that I had the talent for writing and the gift for writing. But honestly, as a teen, I really didn't give it much further thought than any assignments I had to do for my schoolwork. I didn't really think about it. There were some notable books and stories that I read in middle school and in high school, but I really didn't conceptualize and start to get the idea that I wanted to be a writer until later. There might have been some thoughts about it, but I wasn't really thinking about it. I did say that my mother is a professional grant writer and a master of English grammar and syntax. I did mention that. But how did I start writing? Now, my father also did share throughout my childhood that he did journal sometimes. I do have memories of that, and I did take that with me as I went along into college. But the big, I think, genesis or tipping point for me, or the seminal moment, that's what they call it, the seminal moment, was my first year of college at the SUNY College at Brockport. A gentleman, a professor, a writer, a faculty member from the Washington University in St. Louis named Dr. Gerald Early. Dr. Gerald Early came to our school and presented his book, Daughters. This was in the mid-1990s. I still remember this. And afterwards, I approached Dr. Early And I said, excuse me, sir, I think I might want to be a writer one day. I was aspiring to major in one of the sciences, but even then, I thought I might want to write a book. I don't know where that came from. And Dr. Early told me something that I've remembered for the rest of my life, which is that in order to be a writer, you have to read a lot and you have to write a lot. I'll say that again. You have to read a lot and you have to write a lot. And if you've never written anything for an audience, he said you might want to start with your school newspaper. Now, that first year at Rockport, I was just trying to figure out how to be a college student. And then when I transferred to Johnson C. Smith University, again, I was focused on being a college student and just trying to make straight A's in my classes, which I did. But I really, aside from my coursework, I didn't really give much thought to creative writing and writing for my school newspaper or anything that was available at that time. Now, that was such a profound moment for me that I actually did capture that interaction in the preface, the preface or the preface of The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story, Part 1, Innocent Basketball Dreams. And I did send Dr. Early a courtesy copy. So hopefully he receives that. And certainly he doesn't remember me, but hopefully he'll get a kick out of the fact that on one of his own book tours, he inspired a younger author himself. Now, while I did not start writing for a school newspaper of any kind, I did take Dr. Early's words to heart and I started journaling, much like my father. He said he journaled. So for a number of years as an undergraduate and even into graduate school, as I described in the introductory video, I journaled by hand in notebooks like this. These are notebooks from 1999 and 2000. I haven't read these in years, but they talk about, it's just, journaling is you can practice writing, but it's also a very therapeutic exercise. It's a form of self-care, but it's something that I did religiously in my dorm rooms, at coffee shops, everywhere. I journaled, and I journaled regularly and religiously. And even if it's for your own self-care and your own therapy, I would recommend that you potentially start journaling as well if you haven't. It's fun. I'm gonna go back over these since I pulled these out and to see what I was thinking about 20 to 30 years ago. But if you don't know what else to do, that is a good place for you to start. Keep a journal. Now, no matter how you decide to start, whether it's journaling by hand, the way that I did it, or using Microsoft Word or some other software, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. The actual process of writing, it becomes like a culture. It becomes like something that you do naturally. And actually, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, he did say on several podcasts that what the body does, the mind remembers. So the more you do it, the more you write, the more your mind will remember it, and the better you will become at it. So you really just have to get started. That's the big thing. Now, how did I get from journaling for myself and to myself to becoming a blogger, publishing content online, and now a self-published author? Well, I'm going to revisit this in a separate video, but one of my mother's pieces of advice when I shared that I wanted to start this journey, well, it was actually a question because I gave her a sample of my writing. I'd been writing, but it wasn't very clean. And she asked me, have you ever taken a writing course? So I didn't take offense to that, but it was just a suggestion that, hey, if this is something you want to get into, perhaps you should get some more beyond your college education, some formal training in fiction writing or creative nonfiction writing or whatever it is you want to do. Maybe you want some formal training. And so I did take a number of classes at the Writer Center in Bethesda, Maryland. And one of the instructors suggested this book here. This is a book by the master. This is Stephen King on writing. And not surprisingly, but surprisingly, Stephen King in his book said the exact same thing that Dr. Gerald Early said, which was to be a writer, you have to read a lot and you have to write a lot. So those right there, that's the secret to getting started. And you don't need anybody's permission and you don't need anybody else's approval. You only have to start and you have to keep going and going. And so then when you want to go to the next level and then the next level and then the next level after that, yeah, maybe a writing course is good because there'll be other people there with day jobs who think they want to do it and they have their own ideas, and there will be an instructor there who is probably a published author, his or herself, and you can start to expose your ideas and your work to other people. But the key is to start. That's the key thing. You have to read a lot and you have to write a lot, and you don't need anybody's permission to get started. And you'll know that you're on the right path if you're doing it and doing it and doing it without anyone telling you that you can do it and without anyone else's approval. You'll know that you're on the right path when you're going and you're going and you're going and you're writing and you're writing and you're writing. And Stephen actually talks about that in his book when discussing a the story of his son Owen, who wanted to be a musician, or who thought that he wanted to be a musician, except Stephen and his wife Tabby didn't hear Owen practicing when not with the instructor. And that's when you get better at something, and that's by yourself. That's when the mastery comes. It comes by yourself when you can practice without anyone else there and without the instructor, without the coach, without the teacher. That's when you start to really, really make those gains. So that's when you know that you're on the right path. So right around 2012 was the season for me to go to that next level, from journaling to creative writing, taking classes with others, and then those things that came next, writing for the Examiner, starting my blog, working on my book, fleshing out the chapters, all things that I'll talk about on this channel. But the key thing was to get the idea and then to get the advice from an SME or several SMEs, subject matter experts in this case, Dr. Gerald Early and then Stephen King in print, and then to actually just do it, just to start writing. That was the key for me. Now, again, I'm going to talk about everything else I did after that, starting a blog, writing for the Examiner, self-publishing my book. But I thought that it was a natural progression on this channel, or should I say for this channel, to talk about how I started and how others can start. And with that, I will wrap this video up. Please let me know what you think in the comments section below. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below. Please like, share, and subscribe. The link to my newsletter is in the description box below, as is the link to my online store, my writer's blog, and the link to the Engineers, a Western New York Basketball Story Part 1, Innocent Basketball Dreams, which I'll be talking about more on this channel. But for now, I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope you all got something out of it. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye. By the way, everyone, for completeness, I have to correct myself. My mother didn't ask me, had I taken a writing course? She asked me, have you thought about taking a writing course? So, in other words, your writing needs some more work. So, I just wanted to come on and follow up with that detail. That's what she asked me. And it was an important question. So, thanks, Mom.